Can you imagine New York City submerged underwater within the next 100 years? Sounds like a dystopian future, doesn't it? But it's a future we might be drifting towards. Our beloved Big Apple, with its towering skyscrapers, is facing a challenge that could reshape its very existence. The culprit? Climate change. As the world's ice caps melt, sea levels are rising. But there's another, less obvious factor at play. The city's land mass is gradually sinking, burdened by the weight of urban development. This double whammy of rising waters and sinking land puts our city in a perilous position. New York's unique location, surrounded by water on all sides, makes it particularly vulnerable. The Atlantic Ocean, the Hudson and East Rivers, they all pose a threat, potentially transforming our city into an urban Atlantis. Recent flooding caused by heavy rainfalls have given us a grim preview of what might be in store. Remember Hurricane Ida? It was a stark reminder that we're not just talking about some distant future. The effects of climate change are here and they're escalating. New York City, a symbol of human achievement, might be on the brink of an unprecedented crisis. Not all parts of New York City are created equal, especially when it comes to climate change vulnerabilities. In the face of rising sea levels, the city's geographical diversity becomes its bane. Lower Manhattan, for instance, is particularly susceptible. This bustling hub, a blend of historic charm and modern skyscrapers, is almost entirely at sea level, making it a prime target for flooding. Similarly, neighborhoods along the East River are equally at risk. From trendy Williamsburg to quiet residential areas like Stuyvesant Town, these areas are already familiar with the perils of storm surges. But with sea levels predicted to rise, their vulnerability is set to increase exponentially. The recent flooding caused by record-breaking rainfall, like that from Hurricane Ida, has only underscored this reality. Streets were transformed into rivers, subway stations into waterfalls. These aren't isolated incidents, but glimpses of what could become a regular occurrence if action is not taken. The city's infrastructure, built for a different era, is not equipped to handle this new normal. And with each passing day, the city sinks further under the waterline, burdened by the weight of urban development. For these neighborhoods, the future looks particularly wet. But it's not just about what's happening at the poles, it's about what's happening right here, right now. New York City has already begun to feel the impact of climate change, with recent flooding events causing significant damage and loss of life. Just a few years ago, the wrath of Hurricane Ida resulted in a record-breaking rainfall, surpassing even the totals in Louisiana. 13 lives were lost, and the city's infrastructure was pushed to its limits. This storm was not an isolated incident, but a stark indication of what lies ahead. Warmer air brought on by climate change holds more water vapor, leading to higher rainfall rates. This translates to more frequent and severe flooding, a trend that's been noted worldwide. In fact, the Big Apple saw an unprecedented rainfall with over 4.5 inches falling in a single night. These aren't just rainy days, these are warnings. Each event is an alarming signal of the immediate threat the city faces due to its sinking landmass and the rising sea levels. As these heavy rainfalls become more common, they will only exacerbate the city's problems, pushing its already strained infrastructure to the brink. Each rainfall event is a stark reminder of what's at stake. So, what happens next? The answer to that question rests in our hands. Now more than ever, immediate action is needed to mitigate the impacts of climate change, and that starts with adapting New York City's infrastructure. The city's buildings, transport systems, and public spaces need to be designed with resilience in mind, ready to withstand the rising tides and the heavy rains that are becoming all too common. But it's not just about preparing for the worst. It's about preventing it. Every individual has a role to play, from reducing our carbon footprints to advocating for climate justice. It's about making conscious choices in our daily lives, like using public transportation, recycling, or even something as simple as turning off the lights when you leave a room. But individual actions are just one piece of the puzzle. We need systemic changes too. Policies that prioritize sustainability, investments in green technologies, and a commitment to reducing greenhouse gas emissions. It's about reimagining our city, and indeed our world, in a way that coexists harmoniously with nature rather than trying to conquer it. Technological innovations also have a crucial role in this fight. Harnessing renewable energy, developing climate-resilient infrastructure, and implementing sustainable urban planning strategies can help us forge a path towards a greener, more sustainable future. The future of New York City hangs in the balance. It's up to us to tip the scales in its favor.